So in this screencast, we're going to talk about hosting. And there are a variety of different ways that you can host your website on the internet, ranging from really inexpensive to sometimes free shared hosting, all the way up to dedicated servers that you might even keep in your own office. Most of those hosting options are going to have your website running on Apache or Nginx or some other standard web server and served out to the internet. It's pretty simple. You can do some exploring online to find some inexpensive or free hosting for your website and for this class. In fact, you can even host your website on Michigan State's servers on your AFS space, so just check out MSU's documentation for that. But in this screencast, I'm going to quickly show you guys a demo of Heroku, which is a hosting platform built on top of Amazon Web Services that hosts all sorts of different applications, from Ruby on Rails to Node.js and even static sites. And that's what I'm going to show you guys today, is how to host a static site on Heroku, a very simple one. So before you get started, check out the Heroku Dev Center and make sure you go through the Getting Started with Heroku so that you know kind of how Heroku works, a little bit of its background, and you have your account and everything set up so that this tutorial will work for you. Once you've done that, go ahead and open up a terminal window and get onto your desktop or get somewhere where you can create a folder, and go ahead and clone this URL. And I'll put this in the show notes. And this is basically a template for static sites on Heroku. And this will create a new, let's call it test. This will create a new folder called test with all the requisite files for hosting a website on Heroku. So now if we go into test and we just give it a little look, we have a couple of files in here, a config.ru, a public directory, and some gem files. We're going to ignore the gem files for right now and the README. You can see that on GitHub. But what we want to do is, actually, let's just open up this entire directory in TextMate so we can check it out. So first of all, in the public directory, this is where we have all of our public files. So this is going to be style sheets, images, anything you put in there is going to go in the public directory, just like normal. The only other file you need to worry about is this config.ru. And if we open it up, you can see it's also very small. It's only 14 lines. And the only line we really care about, or that you guys need to care about, is line number 2, the URLs hash. And in this hash is a list of URLs that will be made available publicly on Heroku. And as you can see here, I have our style sheets, images, JavaScript, and then I also have a /page. Anytime you add any pages to the site outside of your index.html file, you'll need to add it up here just like you see the rest of them. So this is kind of cumbersome, but like I said before, this is only a system for small static sites. If you have large sites with hundreds of pages, you may need to look for a more permanent content management solution for something like that. So once you have all your pages added and you have everything set, so if we take a look at this, we have our index and our page, so the demo should be there. You can go back to your terminal window. So we can go into our test and we can type Heroku create stack Cedar. And what this is doing is this created a brand new Heroku app for us. You can see the URL right here. We're actually going to copy that because we're going to need that in a second. And now all we have to do is push our changes to Heroku. So do a git status and make sure you're clean. So what Heroku gives us is a new remote GitHub branch. So we can type git push Heroku master. So instead of git push origin master, which would send this to GitHub, or if we were using GitHub, that is typically where GitHub's repository would be, we're going to send this to Heroku. And as soon as Heroku receives our git push, it's going to deploy our application to the web. So let's give this a try. Sometimes it will take a second. This has got to kind of communicate with Heroku, compile all your assets, and push them up. So now you can see here that Heroku has received our code. It's installing all the dependencies we need to run. And you can also see that it recognized what kind of application it was. So now we can see that our app has been deployed to Heroku. So let's copy that link and head back over to the browser, open up a new tab, and see what we have. And there you go. There's your static page on Heroku. And as you can see right now, this URL is not very fancy, but using Heroku, you can point a standard domain at that. So if you had your own domain, you could make it work with this as well. This is just the temporary URL that Heroku gives you to test your site. So that's it. That's a static site on Heroku. For this to work for you, remember, all you need to make sure is that your website is in this public directory and that any folders and images you have are defined in the URLs hash. As long as you have that stuff right, you should be good to go.